Good morning. My name is James Moser. I'm the worship associate for you this morning. Very pleased to be here and pleased that you are here too on this non-weather event Sunday. There's another event happening, and we'll leave that to your imagination. But on behalf of First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, Delaware, I welcome you to our online worship service. Whether you are here in person or whether you're joining us online, you're welcome here in this space and time, whether you're a longtime member, a first-time visitor, or just shopping. You're welcome here whether you have a deep and long Unitarian faith or a questioning, searching mind. You're welcome here whether or not you can show documentation, or if maybe you've never even thought about that. You're welcome here whether you are temporarily healthy or chronically struggling, or perhaps just feeling down. You're welcome here whether you are single, partnered, married, or single again. And you are welcome here no matter whom you love. You're welcome here regardless of your race, age, ethnicity, religious background, orientation, or any other demographic indicator. You are welcome here. Today in this sacred space, we will lift up our mission to be good trouble in a society aching for healing. Our minister will shine a light on the witness of Bayard Rustin, an author, gay rights leader, a civil rights leader, a gay African-American man, and a visionary of equality who came from Westchester, Pennsylvania. An announcement that is weather-related. Due to the forecast impending snow for Wednesday, the evening Vesper service, usually at 6:30, will not be held this week. So please stay home and stay safe. Before we share a moment of greeting with one another here in the sanctuary, let's send our usual wavy greeting to the camera on the wall to your left, to those watching us online. Welcome to all of you. Now, would you please share a warm first you welcome with those around you? And now our children will help us prepare our hearts, minds, and spirits for worship.
Where's your sister? Stand still, Mom. Can you guys take one step that way? Join us.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Larry Piers, minister here at the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. And James, you were right. That music warmed our hearts and our spirits. We could go through ice or sleet or rain and feel warmed and changed by the song of our children singing. I want to express a lot of gratitude for what it takes to gather together at a welcome table each Sunday. I want to acknowledge our AV team and the hard work they do behind the scenes so that others can view this service. And of course, our children's choir, our musician today, Linda, our music director, Kathy Harris, and our choir, who not only show up on a Sunday, but come on a cold Thursday evening to rehearse, to offer their music to you and to James, our worship associate. So today, when you arrived, you might have gotten one of these green cards with a pen. So you get to do an early Valentine to the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington by any time during this service completing the sentence, "What I celebrate about First Unitarian is," and sign your name, print it so we can read it, because we want to incorporate this into our celebration Sunday, next Sunday. And you'll hand them in. You can put them in the white baskets as you leave the service, but take a moment during this service to think about what it is that you really celebrate about this congregation. Would you do that? Now, these pens are our gift to you. They're a special kind of pen. Like when you receive your pledge card, for example, next week, you're going to find it's going to want to add zeros that you never even imagined. So hold on to that pen. It is our gift to you as a member of and a visitor here at First Unitarian. So for our call to worship today, we're going to sing a song together. First, I'm going to sing it through once, and then I'll invite you to join in after each line, and then we'll put it all together at the end. We might even throw in some movements. Can you imagine? Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving will be a living sanctuary for you. Sing each line after me. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary.
Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary.
Pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, will be a living sanctuary for you.
Will be a living sanctuary for you.
So let's stand up as you're willing, able, and if the Spirit moves you to do so, and let's put it all together and sing. Now, you might even want to join in the movements. If you get carried away, you're in the right group. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving will be a living sanctuary for you. One more time. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving will be a living sanctuary
This morning, we welcome Frankie to our pulpit, and we'll hear what she has to say, too.
If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to join me by lighting it as I shall, a chalice lighting mold adapted from Elaine Davis. Did I say that right? Using a spark of hope, we kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice.
Our hymn is number 155. The words will be before you. Please remain standing after for the affirmation of our mission. Please rise. Please join in our unison affirmation of mission. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action.
So before Catherine shares our Time for All Ages story this morning, I want to put it in context. There's a country, Romania, that includes a portion of it that is Hungarian-speaking people called Transylvania. How many of you have ever heard of Transylvania? How many of you have ever been to Transylvania? A few of us have. So in 2000, the year 2000, I was there to lead a training for Unitarians across Europe And we went to Transylvania because it has a very historical significance for us as Unitarians. It was a place where Unitarianism started to bloom and blossom some hundreds of years ago. In that trip, we took some field trips to some of the villages. And the women in those villages had prepared these donuts, round donuts, fried, I'm sure, in oil, stacked on platters. And we didn't speak each other's language, but they wanted to show us some kindness and hospitality. So they passed these donuts around to our group, and I took one, I ate it, and as soon as I finished, a woman would come with a tray and offer me another one. And so I learned to just take one bite and hold on to that donut. And so Transylvania and a story from Transylvania is our focus today. Go ahead, Catherine.
And before I start sharing the story, I would just like to have a cheer from the congregation for our Eagles. Go Birds! Go Birds! Okay, thank you. Many years ago, in a village in Transylvania, a group of Unitarians decided they needed a church of their own, a church set on the hillside looking down on the village. So all the people of the village gathered together and worked hard to build themselves a church. They built stout, strong walls. They installed a roof with shingles that wouldn't let in a drop of rain. They hung welcoming, wide-opening doors and added a bell to call everyone to worship. Finally, the building of the church was done, and everyone in the village came to install lampstands along the walls, to paint the walls, and bring in the furniture. And when their church was finally complete, all the people of the village stood back to admire it. An elder of the village announced, "Our church is complete. Go home, get some rest. And when you hear the bell after your meal, come back for our first worship service." So the people of the village went down to their homes, all except for one little girl and her father, who stayed at the church to have a picnic dinner outside. After their meal, they went into the church building to ring the bell, calling everyone to worship. As they entered the building, the girl cried out, "Father, we aren't finished." "What do you mean?" he asked. "There are stands for the lamps along the walls, but there are no lamps. The church will be dark when everyone arrives." Her father smiled and said, "The light of the church comes from our people. Wait and see." The girl and her father returned outside after ringing the bell and saw tiny points of light coming from many homes and moving in the direction of the church. "Each family is entrusted with a lamp," her father said. "Each family lights their own way here to the church. The many lights moved closer together. You can come set them up here. And they gathered into a moving stream, all headed towards the church. The girl's mother arrived, carrying their family's lamp, and set the lamp high in its stand. All around the church, other families did the same, until the church was bright with light in every corner. After the worship service, each family retrieved their lamp and made their way home to the village. As the little girl prepared for bed that evening, she said to her mother, "Father said the light of the church comes from the people." "Yes," her mother said, "but also the people take their light from the church," the little girl continued as she gazed at the lamp. "And we have that light every day." "Yes," said her mother, "and even when we are not in church, even when our lamp is not lit, we carry the light of truth in our minds and the flame of love in our hearts. That light, the light of truth and love, will never go out. And this lamp will last for many years. When you are grown, the lamp will be yours. And when your children are grown, you will give them the lamp, and all of you will carry it back and forth to church." "But there is only one lamp," the little girl said. And her mother said, "We'll make more and let the light grow. And someday, tell your children to make more lamps." The years passed, and the lamp came into the girl's care. When the bell rang out, calling the people to worship, she carried the lamp back and forth to the church on the hillside, the flame always lighting her way. When the time came, she made more lamps and gave them to her children, who made more lamps and gave them to their children. And so it went on through the years, even until today. And always the light of truth and the flame of love from that Unitarian church on the hillside continued to grow and show them and us the way. Please join in singing our children out. And will the children wait for me at the door? For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed be, for you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed
Let us join now in a time of meditation, opening our hearts and our imaginations, allowing ourselves to find a peace that is beyond understanding, but a peace that we can radiate and embody in our everyday. During this time of the meditation, I'm going to share some of these words by Bayard Rustin, who I'll be speaking about during the sermon. Rustin wrote, "The spark, the potential is indeed still within us, but in our reliance on violence, we have misused our energies and sapped the strength from our moral muscles. At this moment, each person in the world possesses a limited energy for social action. Let us consider this quantity like the contents of a drinking cup. If we use a portion of this energy in fear, another portion in frustration, and still another in preparation for violent aggression, soon we shall discover that our power is greatly diminished. But if we can discipline ourselves, and that is a matter of requiring a practical, willing, and thoroughgoing devotion, we can remove fear, hatred, bitterness, and frustration. Then the cup will overflow with energy, a great deal of which can be used in finding a creative solution to problems. So as we join now in a shared silence, let's take a moment, if it's helpful for you, to ground yourself in that peace that's always available to fill our cup. As we breathe in, may we breathe in peace. As we breathe out, may we breathe out love. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. Peace, love. And in this shared silence, you may, if you choose to, continue with that meditation. We have prepared ourselves to be a sanctuary, to receive whatever people bring into this place that might burden them, that might worry them, something that they might have as a concern for themselves, for those they love, or for our wider world. So let's take a moment in the sanctuary of our own heart first to just ask ourselves, what am I carrying in my heart today that is weighing me down? So let's pause, maybe even with your hand on your heart, and attend to what it is that you're holding there. So this past week, David Harrell's father passed away on Monday. So we want to surround David and Adris with our love and our care. What concerns are you holding this morning in this section that you want to share aloud or on the chat?
Don Kwong.
Anything else? Just 1 second. Anything else here? Okay.
People who receive USAID.
Okay.
Continued demonization of transgender people.
New leadership firing all my friends.
Don't put it in grain. People who may die because they can't get food and medicine from USAID.
brother's wife diagnosed with cancer.
Ed's voice for those who don't have a warm place to sleep.
Our Constitution.
The popularity of cruelty. The safety of my grandchildren in an anti-woke world.
Our tears are holy water because they connect us to the care and the compassion that we have for others, that open up our own hearts and remind us to be that compassion, to be that care, to be that witness for justice in our world. So may we open our hearts to let more light, more compassion, more justice in, and may it radiate through us. We always take a moment also to express a joy that we might have experienced or experiencing in this moment. Sometimes it takes a little while to clear away all the concerns that we might have, to find that one sparkling thing of joy that we also are aware of. And so I wonder, is there a joy that you have today that you'd like to share?
Music.
Music, of course.
Joy of singing.
The joy of singing.
Children.
The children.
Children sing.
Joy. Joy.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
I'm really happy to see all your smiles, and I like that you're supporting your team. And, go win.
We share your joy, Rachel. Renee, sorry, Renee. Who else?
Some are earlier, you just got a promotion in your job.
Okay. Another joy.
My sister just got back from the Sudan safely on a medical mission. Johnny's new house. Too worried about the Eagles.
Any other joys that anyone wants to share? So may we hold on to the joys alongside of our concerns and recognize that they call us to more humanity. So may all whose names were spoken and those unspoken find peace and healing this day. We join in our musical meditation. I found this morning that indeed my soul was stirred and my spirit rose to the occasion of being in your presence. Given all the turbulence of this past week in our country, it's nice to come together and feel the presence of those who care, those who won't stop caring, and those who are trying to be a healing and liberating presence in this world. So I'm so glad to be with you today. As you know, I have found inspiration over the last few weeks from those well-known words. Is this okay? Is this coming across okay? Okay. From those well-known words by the former civil rights activist and congressperson, Representative John Lewis, who said, "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble." Let's just take a moment and make some noise together at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Good. My work is over. So I didn't realize actually until recently that these were the words that John Lewis spoke atop the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama on March 1st, 2020. He spoke these words 55 years after what is called Bloody Sunday, the day when he and other civil rights marchers were beaten by troopers who brutally attacked them on horseback, wielding weapons and chasing down fleeing men, women, and children. Several were hospitalized on that day, including John Lewis. The scar that he carried the rest of his life is also a scar in the history of America. Not easily forgotten, and it shouldn't be. Lewis's words resound for me in this time that we are in, reminding us what he knew experientially through his own lived experience directly. And he captured in these words, "Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime." Can I hear an amen? Amen. We all need to be troublemakers now. What I call holy troublemakers that are empowered by and embodied in spirited love, compassion, and justice, especially in the face of dynamics and power grabs that are actually occurring in our country that is attempting to put limits on love, minimize compassion, and institutionalize racism and hate and injustice. During this Black History Month of 2025, I pray that we are beyond the point of raising up a few symbolic waves in the direction of past heroes and prophets, and then, having entertained ourselves, returned to business as usual. And business as usual these days, my friends, can also mean feeling overwhelmed, immobilized, and powerless. We need to have companions on the way of making good trouble in the examples of those who have gone before us and endured unspeakable atrocities, as Lewis did on that Edmund Pettus Bridge, and in the examples of those in our current day who find ways to resist succumbing to despair. I think Bayard Rustin is one of those companions who not only speaks from his biography and from the conditions of his time, but can speak directly to each of us, to this moment that we're in. I don't believe it is enough for us to honor his accomplishments if we do not also glean from him enduring lessons and a legacy for our time, for this time that we are in. Rustin was a holy troublemaker. Holy troublemakers continue to cause a ruckus even after they are gone. That's why we turn to Rustin for some glimmers of hope and encouragement today, because we need these glimmers. It wouldn't surprise me if some of us don't know much about Bayard Rustin. One contemporary biography of Rustin entitles his book, The Lost Prophet. Indeed, Rustin has been lost to the memories and the stories that are often told about the civil rights movement, of which Rustin was a vital part, and also the stories of his being an instigator of the subsequent movements for economic justice to benefit all, that were also a part of his ongoing, continuing legacy. As one author says, except for the brief walk-in part on the man behind the scenes of the historic March on Washington, Rustin hardly appears at all in the voluminous literature produced about the 1960s. Instead, he's become a man without a home in history. I will attempt to correct that just a little bit today. One doesn't have to speculate too much about why he is a lost prophet. Even during the time he was alive, there were those in the movement who felt he was a risk to the reputation and the credibility of the movement. Indeed, just days before the March on Washington for Freedom and Jobs, Senator Strom Thurmond, I think South Carolina states' rights advocate and segregationist, went on the radio to denounce the march by denouncing one of its stronger organizers behind the scenes, Bayard Rustin. It is true that Rustin was, at one point in his life, a member of the Communist Party. He was a committed pacifist and a conscientious objector, and he was gay at a time when laws then would have considered him a criminal. There has been a resurgence of interest in Rustin in recent years, including the 2023 movie Rustin. How many of you saw that? Okay, a play as well. It stars Coleman Domingo as the main character. And today a high school, as you may know, in his hometown of Westchester is named after him. Rustin was indeed a lost prophet for many until recently, when more scholars are including his extraordinary and enduring contributions to the civil rights movement and his comprehensive understanding of the intersection between civil rights, human rights, and economic justice. Let me give a little background. Bayard Rustin was born in Westchester, PA in 1912, raised by a grandmother and a grandfather who, although they were raised in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, they then began to consider themselves Quakers through the interactions they had with other Quakers in Westchester. Bayard Rustin was a 1932 graduate of what was then Westchester High School, that later became Henderson High School, Westchester Henderson High. The high school that bears his name in Westchester shares this story. The path his life would take was set during the teenage years when he conducted sit-ins at segregated restaurants and theaters in Westchester. A track and football star, he also opposed this discriminatory treatment of high school students, school athletes, insisting on equal accommodations during out-of-town athletic contests. He was an outstanding student and the first African American to win the high school's D. Webster Meredith Speaking Contest for boys. Rustin is best known as the organizer of the 1963 March on Washington, at which Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. It was Rustin who first counseled Dr. King during the Montgomery bus boycott and introduced Dr. King to the theory and to the practice of nonviolence. Rustin learned from Gandhi in his trip to India and from others the power of nonviolent resistance, and he became a trainer and a consultant to campaigns all over the world about this method. When Rustin was asked about his activism, he wrote, "My activism did not spring from my being gay, or for that matter from my being black. Rather, it is rooted fundamentally in my Quaker upbringing and the values that were instilled in me by my grandparents who reared me. Those values are based on the concept of a single human family and the belief that all members of that family are equal." This is the first lesson that I'd like to hold up from from Rustin. I believe that we need to know the sources, the deep sources, beyond just our own individual identities, that will fuel and sustain our activism when the going gets tough. And friends, the going is getting tough. In Unitarian Universalist circles, we are accustomed to pointing to one of our guiding principles or values, such as the inherent worthiness and dignity of each human being. Yet, as a principle, as an espoused value, even this can easily evaporate when the temperature rises. Unless we can ground that understanding in some deeper sense of a reality that is bigger than just ourselves. This could be a scientific understanding that recognizes the essential interconnectedness of everything. It could be a mystical understanding, as Martin Luther King says, in a real sense, all life is interrelated. All are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. This is the interrelated structure of reality, he proclaimed, or some sense of interconnectedness as conveyed through Indra's web, or what Jewish and Christian religion have referred to as being each of us children of God, each of us having the divine spark within us, nurturing and cultivating that deep inner sense is not a luxury, but a necessity if we are to boldly face this moment that we are in, if we are to find our unique path of activism or resistance and feel sustained and not sizzled in the process. What did you say, preacher? If we are to feel sustained and not sizzled in the process. Say that after me. Feel sustained and not sizzled in the process. Now, for some of us, sizzled has already happened. Let's show your hands proudly, okay? So Rustin, as a holy troublemaker, understood for the sake of what he was causing trouble. For the sake of not complying with laws and practices and conventions as if they contradicted for him that essential understanding that we are, as he said, part of one human family and all members of that family are equal. We need that touchstone within ourselves and among ourselves. It might require some digging for some of us. Digging into our heart of hearts. For the sake of what am I engaged, we might ask ourselves. For the sake of what am I resisting? For the sake of what am I taking actions? For the sake of what am I not giving in to despair? So that's the first lesson, is to really ask ourselves, as Rustin did, what is his activism? What is his way of being in the world based upon? And we each need to find that touchstone within ourselves. There's another lesson, I believe, that Bayard Rustin, as a holy troublemaker, has to teach us. Rather than imagining that our guiding principles are separate from our action, we may realize the truth of our conviction is actually honed through our action. Rustin put it this way, and this makes him an exemplary, holy troublemaker for us, I think. He said, the proof that one truly believes is in action. The truth that one truly believes is in or through action. In other words, he felt strongly that when one actually engages in nonviolent civil disobedience, one discovers more fully one's convictions than one would know through just having convictions alone. He convinced Martin Luther King Jr. at that Montgomery bus boycott to follow these nonviolent principles and practices And it was from that day on that King was convinced. Rustin wrote that the major aspect of the struggle within is determined without. Struggle inside is determined by what's happening around us. If one gets out and begins to defend one's rights and the rights of others, spiritual growth takes place. One becomes, in the process of doing, in the purifying process of action. I hope we can recall this wisdom when we truly need it. It means that we don't have to wait until we finished our reading list before we take action. It means that we sometimes take action so that the words on the page, and more importantly, the words that are abiding in our heart, become true as lived principles. Spiritual growth then takes place within us and among us. A third lesson from Rustin is probably best understood retrospectively in the behind-the-scenes tensions within the civil rights movement of the 1960s, but it has relevance for us today as well. Rustin had to navigate all the opinions of the various community leaders, including black leaders of his time, before he could mobilize them to actually take action and to support and to organize a national march on Washington for jobs and freedom. If you saw the recent movie, Rustin, you saw on display all of these forces who wanted to do the march in a respectful way, who didn't want to stir up too much antagonism among the blatant white supremacists at the time, who didn't want racial justice to be mixed in with economic justice. With Rustin's skillful years of organizing events around the country, he was able to organize a team who then organized people from around the country, churches and synagogues, unions, blacks, whites, young, old, women, men. Rustin acted in spite of the divisions and the perspectives to bring about the result that he had accomplished. He had to compromise. For example, he had originally envisioned a 2-day march, one of those days being a day of lobbying in Washington. That was shut down by his co-leaders, but yet he went along with it and did what he could do. He compromised. He was, as well as Martin Luther King Jr., interested in making the connection between economic and racial justice at a time where people wanted to separate the two or didn't see the connection. He was committed to bringing people together who had this shared purpose, whatever their race, whatever their gender, whatever their economic status. He kept broadening the lens of the event, even when those who had been established leaders in the African American community resisted him and reviled him. He persisted. As one analyst of Rustin's life said, because of his capacity to build friendships across divisions, because of his unwavering integrity, he won the day. The result is that they exceeded their goal of 100,000 people, and 250,000, 250,000 people, showed up, one of the biggest marches in the country. This is a relevant lesson for our day, since I often observe that among progressive activists these days, there's a tendency to want to do a purity test before you act around each social action. We may not have time to get everything right when we need to act, my friends. I'm reminded of Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, who said, "The time is always right to do right." That's worth repeating. Say it after me. Time. In coming days, I will be sharing with you some information about a new rapid response task force of the UU Service Committee, which is organized to inform us on the kinds of actions that we can take immediately as needed. So you'll see that information in our e-newsletter. So Rustin was a holy troublemaker because he did not easily succumb to the pressures to conform when others complied with what he felt was unjust. When one activist told him later in his life that she was too tired to continue her activism, Rustin replied, "I am not sympathetic to your cry of being tired. I am black, and I have lived and fought racism my entire life. I have seen periods of progress followed by reaction. I have seen the hopes and aspirations of black people rise during World War II only to be smashed during the Eisenhower years. I'm seeing the victories of the Kennedy and Johnson's administration destroyed by Richard Nixon. I have seen black young people become more and more bitter. I have been in a bombed church. My best friends, closest associates, and colleagues in arms have been beaten and assassinated. Yet to remain human and fulfill my commitment to a just society, I must continue to fight for the liberation of all. There will be times when each of us will have doubts, but I trust that neither of us will desert our great cause." I think we're at a time where we need to feel and embody and sense and cultivate and strengthen our own deepest convictions about where to go from here. I hope that you can draw some wisdom from the strength and the courage and the holy troublemaker, Bayard Rustin. In closing, I want to share with you the pledge that Rustin had written for those who were gathered for the March of Washington for Freedom and Jobs. They were asked to read it on the cards that they had received. He invited those there to make this pledge. Standing before the Lincoln Memorial on the 28th of August, in the centennial year of emancipation, I affirm my complete personal commitment to the struggle for jobs and freedom for Americans. To fulfill that commitment, I pledge that I will not relax until victory is won. I pledge that I will join and support all actions undertaken in good faith in accord with the time-honored democratic tradition of nonviolent protest, of peaceful assembly and petition, and of redress through the courts and the legislative process. I pledge to carry the message of the march to my friends and neighbors back home and arouse them to an equal commitment and equal effort. I will march and I will write letters. I will demonstrate and I will vote. I will work to make sure that my voice and those of my brothers and sisters ring clear and determined from every corner of our land. I pledge my heart and my mind and my body unequivocally and without regard to personal sacrifice to the achievement of social peace through social justice. Let's allow the words of that pledge to resonate in this room. Let's allow those words to inspire and provoke and evoke in us what our own pledge might be at this moment, at this time. And I'm going to pause for a moment and ask you to consider, maybe with your hand on your heart, what is it that you are pledging yourself to? What commitment are you willing to make at this time, at this juncture that we are in? And if you want to speak it out loud, please do so. Let's take a moment to hear ourselves or to hear one another.
Come to the ACLU training.
Contact my legislators.
So may there be a resounding chorus among us and within us. May we recognize that through our action, our convictions are formed and strengthened. Amen.
I too pledge to this church, along with my wife, when we moved here and joined the Fellowship of First U. We talked about for a while a pledge and reached a point where we knew we had to make a decision, because being present here week after week and becoming gradually more involved meant we were making an investment in the life of this congregation. But we felt that really wasn't enough. That if we were serious about our commitment to, love of, and warm feelings about this church, we needed to pledge support. Now, I know pledge in the stewardship sense of the word is sometimes uncomfortable. It's put your money where your heart is. That's your pledge. Now, we struggled to identify an appropriate number when we made our pledge, and we do each year. Are we really giving as much as we can? Maybe we need to keep in mind that next year we need to raise our pledge too. And so the result is an underpledge. Next year is going to come one way or another, but who knows what will be needed then? We know what is needed now. So we've learned to pledge, maybe not quite to generosity, because that continues to be our goal, but pledge to a level where we know we're giving what we can, and that the future is in the hands of all of us. I'm going to finish and ask you to join me in a moment in our offering dedication. But you're going to be much more entertained in a few moments with the stewardship message of the morning. Would you join me now in our dedication of offering? To the work of this congregation, which is weaving legacy of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings.
So it's time to see our video. The theme of our pledge drive, our stewardship drive this year, is sustaining our capacity to make good trouble.
What drew you to First U?
I have been attending services at First U now for about 3 years. 3 years ago, I was simply looking for a place to attend a church service on Easter Sunday. Then I walked through the doors of First U. Since that time, I have experienced a very welcoming, very humble, and extremely inviting congregation. And I've made some friends along the way. I have taken the time to explore some of the different items and community events that First U has to offer, and I've even joined the choir. I can truly say that First U, over these past 3 years, has made my life much more fulfilled.
Sharon, you've been coming to the congregation for a while, and I'm really curious, what drew you here? What was it that was a motivation for you to come here?
I would drive by on 202 and see the billboard at the church. Now, I knew a little bit about what Unitarian Universalists were, but not a lot. But all the messages that I saw about the various meetings, and I thought, this is really up my street, you know, and it took me a while because I'd stopped going to church many years, and I was raised Catholic, but had been to many different services with friends, and even when I was in the military, I'd try out every church on base, and so I was always seeking, but just seeing what the church seemed focused on in terms of social justice, equality, LGBTQ rights, I thought, wow, this is very interesting, especially during this time. But more than anything else, I was seeking a community. I felt it was time for me to find a community of like-minded people. And so I had a very difficult year, a very challenging year. And I thought, you know, it's time. It's just time. And so I just, with one Sunday, got up and said, I'm going here. I want to see who these people are. And that first Sunday, I was truly amazed, I have to say, because I'd never experienced a church service like this one. And I had mentioned before that song, This Little Light of Mine. I thought, wow, a church is singing this song, you know? And I really felt I needed to hear that at that point. And I was just truly, truly impressed with the message. I immediately found that I wasn't being preached to, but it was as if someone was sharing what they had read and touched them, you know, and found whatever that topic was, but it wasn't just biblical focused, and that's all I'm being told to follow. It was, look what this person said or this one said, and it really touched me, mainly because I was a reader, you know, and my children are readers, especially my older son. He was a bookworm and a poet, you know, and a writer. And so I thought, wow, somebody, or the minds are the thinking people here, people who think, you know. And it just really, I thought, I think I found my place. I found a place where I feel okay.
Hi, I'm Linda Sanders. I've been a member here at First Unitarian for a little over 10 years, and I'm also a member of the executive team, which is the managing part of our processes here. And I want to talk to you today about my thoughts about our stewardship campaign that we're calling Making Good Trouble. I really want to start saying we appreciate everyone's support of our church, whether it's financially or with your time and your service. It means a lot to all of us here at First U, and I really appreciate it. And I know that we all have different financial situations, so giving is a very personal and family decision, but I want to give you some information about what we spend your money on and why it is that it's important that everyone try to look at their situation and be intentional about their giving this year and seeing what they can do to increase it. First, if you look at the chart that shows the three main areas of our ministry, which supports our mission, they are the children's education, our worship services, and then all the other programming we do. And I'll break it down into those three main pillars, I call them, of our services. With our worship program, that's what we do on Sunday mornings here in the sanctuary and also online. And we record the online streaming so you can watch it later at your leisure, which I really appreciate because on Sunday mornings, I'm usually upstairs with my grandson in the children's program. And I love being able to sit down on Sunday evenings with a nice cup of coffee or hot chocolate and watch the services and really enjoy the sermon and the music and see what you all experienced on Sunday morning in the sanctuary. So I love that we record those. So to provide our Sunday services cost about $1,100 a year per member. And our next main area of programming is our children and youth religious education, which we call CYRE. And this is what our children experience upstairs during Sundays, and also all the other activities they have, like the youth program where they go on service missions and that sort of thing. I stay upstairs with my grandson because he's a little bit shy and he wants me to be up there with him, but also because I love being up there with the kids and seeing the values that they're being taught and the kindness they experience and the interactions between the children there. And I love getting to know our children. So our CYRE program costs about $414 a year per member. The third area of programming is all the other programming that we provide in our social justice programs like ILYA, which is Independent Living for Young Adults, which helps young adults aging out of foster care. Also our CAPAS program, which is supporting a mother and her son who are seeking asylum here in the U.S. Our environmental justice work, like our vegan potluck dinners and other environmental programs that we do. And our cooking for EDR and serving meals there. Our live stream programs, which I hope many of you participate in because we have some great programs there for adults. And our Soul Matters and our small, other small ministry circles. To do all of this type of programming cost about $484 a year. So if you add those three main pillars of our mission that we serve, it's about $2,000 a year per member. So that's what we do with the contributions you provide. Now I'd like to look at the chart that shows the levels of giving to show you where we currently get that money from. If you look at the chart, you'll see that the ranges of giving range from about $45,000 a member to about $250 a member, with about 50 people not pledging at all to our pledge drives. Now, if you're a numbers person like me, you'll look at that and you'll see that about half of our giving, half of what we need to run our church, is provided by 10% of our members. And they're getting older. So in order to continue our services that we provide, we need a broader range of giving across our congregation. So if you look at the chart in yellow, That's the aspirational giving, I call it. That's what we wish everybody would be able to do so that our giving is spread more largely across our congregation. So what I really hope is that everyone will look at this information and think about what this church means to you. I know what it means to me, and it means so much, and I'm so glad to be a member here and so glad to be able to support this church. I hope you are too, and I hope you think about very intentionally what you can do to support our Making Good Trouble campaign this year. Thank you.
So we are going to just sing through once our chorus, Good Trouble. We'll hear it, the tune on the piano. This is our second week doing this. Hear the tune and then sing through the verses. Make Good Trouble our time. Is it our time is calling us and then our faith? Or this day and our faith. Just sing those just for the sake of time. Join in when you feel ready.
Distinguish it now with us here in the sanctuary to these words, echoing, not quoting, but echoing Unitarian forefather. Try this one. The words of William Ellery Channing. May we guard our intellectual freedom and call no one master. May we not content ourselves with passive rather than translate our faith into action. May we open ourselves to light, no matter whence it may come. May we receive new truth as a gift of the universe and translate that into our living.
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you for bearing with us as we tried to share a lot of information in as succinct a way as we could through that stewardship video. I know you captured it all, but just in case you didn't, there's the brochure that's at the table in the parish hall, and I think Nancy is going to be one of the people at that table today. All right. Remember, put your cards, completed cards, in the white baskets in the back. Oops. Our benediction are these words from John Lewis. You are a light. You are the light. Never let anyone, any person, any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Release the need to hate, to harbor division, and the enticement of revenge. Release all bitterness. Hold only love, only peace in your heart, knowing that the battle of good to overcome evil is already won. So may it be. So our closing song, the words will appear on the screen. We realize that we're going over a little bit. There's a river flowing in my soul. Sing as much as you want, and if you're needing to sort of wind over to the parish hall, please feel free to do that even during the song if you're needing to. I am doing the soul conversation in the Warner Room for anyone who wants to be there on our monthly theme, inclusion. That'll just be about a half an hour from 12 to 12:30. I'd love to meet those of you who might be newcomers as a way to kind of interact with you then, but everyone is invited. So let's rise in body or spirit as we sing and flow to There's a River Flowing in My Soul.